we have a multiplicity of standards to move information around today. Is that multiplicity of technologies harmful to our goals in the next 12 months, or is it in fact useful in terms of giving users choice in how they move information around?
As a member of the Health IT Standards Committee, I think we probably made a mistake in allowing optionality, because or means and for the vendors and therefore for the providers to a large degree. It would have been better if we had found one standard and stuck with it. Exchange, IHE was too heavyweight, so direct was invented. There is still a need to do the things that will be required by the higher weight standards at some point in the future, and direct will not be sufficient forever and ever, amen. But it would have been better if we had started with something simpler. I think that providers and vendors are going to look to the networks like SureScripts to figure that stuff out.
Okay.
And to become the gauge shifter and interoperability provider between what would otherwise be impedance problems of mismatched networks. I don't see any option. The facts lay as they are now, and we have to deal with multiple standards.
Yes, I'd only say that this is as much a marketing problem as it is a standards problem. You have to market to everybody in the system, including all the providers, because no one can understand what this stuff is. I mean, once you get out of the concentric circle that goes past here, and if you did the poll of the whole room, the whole hall, you'd be hard-pressed people to define what these things are. And it's just very tough. And once you get that into a marketing problem, we need something really simple. TCP, email, people get it, they understand it.
Right.
I think now people get WhatsApp.
Right.
Well, somebody must have got it because there are 450 million users. We have to get to that level of marketing simplicity, which means the vendors have to work on it with people like you.
I like the way you brought up the sort of the evolution of the internet itself and the way standards evolved from that. And so I think that having some optionality is good, some optionality, but you have, to standards imply that there's a standard and that this is the way to do it. Having 73 standards to do one thing is like having no standards at all.
I tend to think that even though, and since I'm talking from the builder side, because we build a lot of these things, is the and isn't so much a problem in the optionality side, so long as it's pretty clear what the use cases are, in which conditions those options will be used. So if you said, for example, that both direct and exchange are required, I'm a technician, I can throw software together, no problem. What I can't figure out is which button, when pressed on my EHR, sends it via direct versus sends it via the exchange, which I think is what Chris is alluding to, is that it's that confusion that is caused by the workflow. But I think that based on where we are, especially the NIST-related MU standards have been around for so long, there's really, aside from direct itself, which is now about 5 years old, there's really not anything new. So technically speaking, we can do it. Where we do need some more direction, though, is use cases and workflow-based direction. And that, again, I don't want to try to blame the buyer community. I mean, we need to figure out together. This is where the vendors need to work together with the buyers and say, at what point does it make sense to do direct versus anything else? The more of the optionality problem probably isn't there. It's the fact that HL7 and related CCD and CCR and the C32s, those, I think, when you put all of those together, not having a particular direction in the file format as opposed to the exchange format probably is a challenge. But I think in the end, most of the engineers will be able to figure that out because there's going to be 2 or 3 or 4 networks. Within the next 10 years, there's going to be 1 or 2 or 3 SureScripts-like systems that are going to be the centerpiece of what we do, just like today. I mean, if you think about it, in 2005, if somebody said most scripts would go through one network, we would have looked at it and said, well, that's just not possible. But I'm sure you guys will say, of course it's possible, because that's what you're doing today. So 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it'll be a very small community. But I think for those of us that are builders in the room, just like Chris said, it's a reality. We can't think of it as an or. These are all ands. But my suggestion is figure out from the use cases perspective, which of the ands focus on which particular areas of standards, and things will go nice and smoothly for you. If you don't, and leave it up to the users now to even decide what their options are upon your options, then I think we're going to have a lot of problems.